Hello everyone, welcome to Just Invest Today, and today we are talking about Mohnish Pabrai's new Q&A video with Brown University. Guys, does Mohnish Pabrai own Tencent? That is the question. This might be a pre-13F like pretty much insight that we just got from Mohnish Pabrai, who knows? But then in this interview, we're gonna break it down. He talks about the Chinese crackdown, he talks about spawners, monopolies, all that good stuff. So if you want a quick video on this, if you don't want to watch the whole thing, listen to this. But if you do want to watch the whole thing, watch it. I suggest it. There's a lot of information on it. But in this video, we're just going to break down what he said and all the good parts that I took out from this interview. So the first thing we're going to get into it is that the guy asks about the first question. The guy asks about spawners basically, and kind of like what to look for in spawners. And then Mohnish Pabrai breaks it down very nice, and he talks about actually he owns an Indian energy exchange company, which is basically a monopoly in India that exchanges energy. And then he talks about how this company has like high profit margins, right? So with all that money, it doesn't know what to do with that money. So when you guys are looking at companies, you got to understand what can they do with that money. How are they going to reinvest that money to keep earning high returns, right? So this company spawned another business, some gas business, but even that gas business, right? It has all this extra money that they're generating from these businesses, and they don't know what to do with it. So they can either, one, buy back shares, or two, get a dividend, right? So with that company, it's a spawner, but it's not the optimal one. So then he goes into Tencent, right? So when he's talking about Tencent, he's saying this is an amazing spawner business, right? Because think about what they do. This is a high profit margin business, high returns on equity. So what does Tencent do with the money? They have so much extra money to do, right? So they buy private deals, businesses that are already pretty much on the come up. Think about businesses like PDD, businesses like JD.com. I think it even owns like some shares in Tesla and Spotify. Like, it's crazy. They have a huge list of early investments in businesses that are going crazy. So that's gonna generate so much returns, like just constantly as those business grows, as your investment portfolio grows. You can just see the spawning aspect of Tencent. And then he compares that Tencent, so you buy private deals, he compares that to Berkshire. Berkshire is all about acquiring other businesses. They can't really invest into like their own businesses. Like they can, but it's not like very optimal. So they have to go out and acquire new businesses. They can't really invest internally. A little bit, but not too much. But then Mohnish Pabrai says it's getting harder and harder for Warren Buffett. So he's been doing it early on. He was investing in all these businesses, acquiring all these nice businesses, but now you see over the past 5-10 years it's been getting harder and harder. So the money that he has, he's not making really good use with it. So then he gets onto Amazon, which Amazon basically is the prime. You invest all that money that they make, Amazon makes, they invest internally, so they make small businesses in Amazon, like the AWS, and how all these things that you're gonna look for is make sure they're earning high returns on equity when they come up with these small businesses inside the business. And that's the prime spawner that you want to look for when you're looking for spawners, the ones that can invest that money internally and come up with new businesses inside of the original business. And when I think about that, I think about Amazon AWS, and we see how that's been growing 40%, and it just spawned the cloud business out of Amazon, the prime e-commerce business. So that's the spawner hierarchy. First, it goes Amazon. You can invest your money internally and bring out new businesses internally, right? So that's number one. Number two, you get the businesses that can actually acquire new businesses that earn high returns on equity when you acquire that business. So you can think about Berkshire and what it does and how it buys all these private businesses inside the business, and it earns high returns. And then lastly, third, you want to buy businesses that can actually buy back shares and actually give it dividends. But that's the last option. You want to find those other two ones first, and if you can't, you get the last option. And he talked about MasterCard, which it's generating so much money, just keeps buying back their shares, and or even Apple, like they just buy back a lot of their shares like crazy. So that's the third option. So then the next question, this question, it was really good. This guy talks about all basically he's talking about the China crackdown, and what he thinks about the China crackdown on like companies like Tencent and basically in different countries. And guess what? Guess what Mohnish Pabrai said? We do not talk about our holdings. Man, is this it? He basically just said that, or unless I'm misinterpreting, but that's what he said. We do not talk about our holdings. And this gives it away because think about it. Last time he talked about Alibaba so freely about what the government was doing. So why is he not talking about what happened with Tencent Music? So he talked about last time about the government crackdown on Alibaba in his last video, but he's not talking about what happened with Tencent Music and how the government told them that you can't have these specific rights to the music. So he didn't talk about that. So is that like the early sign that maybe he has acquired Tencent or Prosus or one of those companies? Like, man, that's a dead giveaway for me. But who knows? We're gonna see what happens, man. Guys, remember, like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm always providing good content. That happened with Mohnish Pabrai. So we're gonna see, man. We're gonna see what happens. Hopefully he did, because, man, guys, I am fully in. I already told you I have 50% of my portfolio in China. This was a huge buying opportunity for me. I might even buy more. This is how I'm going to be generating these high returns when everything is blood red. So the next question, the questionnaire guy asks about moats and basically the best business models, like how Nick Sleek came up with the new model of economies of scale. Not new, but like a good model, economies of scale. And then how Mohnish Pabrai came up with funeral service. So the guy asked him about new moats. And basically that came into like MasterCard and pretty much Visa and those type of businesses. But the thing about those two businesses is that you gotta watch out. Like, he was basically saying the environment is changing so fast for these companies. Maybe 5-10 years from now, those companies might not have moats. So you always gotta question if these companies really have moats, because the moat for MasterCard and Visa seems so strong right now, but we have companies like Square or Firm, like maybe even like Apple's might be doing something with all the payment stuff. Like, we have a lot of companies coming up, growing, whatever, and that environment might change. So he talked about that. Then he basically saying that, guys, like, just focus on buying quality companies, and you buy a business so strong that if you buy a business so strong that if an idiot runs it, the business basically still does good, still does amazing. And that's the companies you really want to hold and you really want to buy. So that's what you should focus on. And when you find those companies, you gotta look for competitive advantage, earning high returns on equity, and companies that have like pretty much tailwinds behind it, with a lot of growth, with a lot of revenue growth, income growth, with everything, right? So you want to find those type of companies. So the next question that was asked was basically referring to how can I generate 40 to 50% returns with small amount of money? Because remember, this question is being asked a lot because Warren Buffett said himself that if he had a small amounts of money, he'd be able to generate 40 to 50% investment returns. So basically, this guy asked Mohnish Pabrai the same question, and he's saying, how do I do it? Like, what do I do? Do I invest in companies with low PEs of 1? Do I invest with companies with discount to NAV, cheap earnings, nets, high compounders? Like, how do I do it? And Mohnish Pabrai basically said, all of the above. You find the best way to do it. So the first thing you have to know for a fact is, he said that you should have a target in your mind of what percent you want to earn. So for Mohnish, he wanted to double every 3 years. So he knew he had to get a 26% return. So if Mohnish wanted to get a 26% return, guess what we have to do? He would have to find companies that are 30 cents on the dollar, basically. Like, he couldn't find companies that were 80 cents and the value was $1. He had to find companies that were at least 30 cents and the value was $1. So that's how he was going to be able to generate that 26% return. So guys, we got to focus on that. We got to make sure we're finding companies with a highly discounted if we want those high 40, 50% returns. And honestly, that's my new goal. We're going to aim high on this channel. We want those 40, 50% returns. If we do that over a small amount of period, we're guaranteed to get rich in 10 years, maybe even shorter, if we can generate these returns. So that's what we want to focus on. And he talks about a story with basically what Warren Buffett and what he did to get to where he's at. Are we willing to do exactly what Warren Buffett did? And he tells the story about how he got a tour about Warren Buffett's office and about his whole area, and he found a Japanese, like pretty much a Japanese Moody's manual. And Warren Buffett, what he does, he just flips through he starts with the A's and goes all the way to the Z, and he just flips through it, finding companies after company after company and seeing what to invest in. He did that with Japanese companies. He did that with Moody's manuals when he was 25. He even did that with South Korean companies, and Mohnish Pabrai said he invested in some South Korean companies. He finds these undervalued companies and he just puts his money in it. But the key thing with doing this, guys, that is just the starting point. When you find something that looks very attractive at the very beginning, that's just the very beginning of the work. You gotta find out, like, do you understand the company? What's wrong with this business? Like, why is it so cheap? What's going on? Like, you gotta be what Lee Lu always says. You are a private investigator, pretty much, for this company. You gotta understand what's going on, and if you can understand why this company is like what the market cap's 15 billion, say, and it's earning, the market cap's 15 billion and it's earning 15 billion. So why is this company so cheap? You gotta understand, you gotta investigate, you gotta find out why this is. And if you do all that work and you find out it's an amazing investment, you have to have the courage and conviction and buy that company. So that's what we're looking for, that's what we're doing, and that's what pretty much Mohnish Pabrai just laid out as what he talked about. So for the last question that I'm going to talk about, the interviewer asked Mohnish Pabrai about starting your own fund. And this is a very good question because I never thought about starting it, but this just rings in my mind how much work I got to do, more work I got to do. He says that if you're a small investor with a small sum of money, 50K, 10K, 25K, whatever it is, you should be averaging 50% a year. You should, if you want to start a fund, you should really be averaging 30 to 50% a year, and over 10 years, 15 years, you're gonna be rich. Like, you have to be rich, right? Like, just the power of compounding is gonna make you rich. So that's how you know if you can actually become a strong investor. So before you get into the investment game, think about that. Think about just building your portfolio, building your wealth of knowledge, and just gaining those percentiles of earnings, man. And just doing it, man. Because, like, man, that just shows you how much work I gotta put in. I want to be able to average 40 to 50% a year. I know it sounds crazy, but man, I feel like I almost have the blueprint right now. Like, even though everyone averaged, like, what, it set 50% last year, man, I think it's possible with a small sum of money right now, because we can find these companies, we can invest in these businesses that people like Mohnish can't, Warren Buffett can't, that can actually really, really, really move the needle. So tell me what you guys think about that, man. Do you think we can be averaging 40 to 50% a year for like at least 5 years, 10 years? Yo, if we do that, we're gonna be filthy rich, filthy. So tell me what you think about that, man. Guys, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, man. Did Mohnish Pabrai invest in Tencent? Man, see you later. Peace.